Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Lightning Experience Roadmap. We're going to be talking about all the amazing things that we can do with clicks. So basically talking about the superpowers that our admins have to be able to use and customize Lightning Experience, what our end users are able to do to really be more productive with Lightning than ever was before possible in Classic. Let me introduce myself. I'm Eric Jacobson. I lead our product management team focused on customization, so all the things that we can do to get in there and customize the Lightning Experience. I'm here today with Joe Ryan from our experience group as well.
Hey guys, good to see you.
So we're gonna be talking to you guys today, but before we do that, it wouldn't be a Salesforce presentation if we didn't start out with our forward-looking statements. Now, this being a roadmap presentation, we are going to make a lot of forward-looking statements. In fact, that's predominantly what we're going to be talking about today. However, I do ask that you make any purchasing decisions based on the software that is generally available. With that, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to structure this afternoon's talk. I'm going to start out, first off, I'm going to hand it off to Joe. We're going to talk about experience, all the things that you get automatically out of the box there. Then we'll switch over. We'll talk about the topic near and dear to my heart, which is customization. So all the ways that you can take that and take it to the next level. We'll leave plenty of time for some questions and answers at the end, so we'll make sure that we really get an opportunity to address all the questions you guys have. And if not, we'll talk about ways that we can follow up even after we leave here today and tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Joe, and we're going to talk about the experience roadmap.
All right, thanks, Eric. Good to see all of you today. So let's jump in and talk about experience. And when we talk about the experience area of Lightning, I'm referring to kind of 5 key areas of UI. So things you see pretty much on every screen: records, lists, the awesome new console, navigation, how you get around, including the favorites feature that I hope you're loving, and our friend setup where you go to configure Salesforce. So I want to first start out, before we get into the roadmap, before we get into demos, and cover some highlights from summer in case you might have missed some of these announcements. So one of the things I'm really excited about is console. I've been spending all my days using console internally, and it's an awesome UI. It's a different kind of navigation style inside of Lightning, and you can create apps that have this navigation style. So you're seeing a screenshot here. I'm going to do a more detailed demo in a moment. But if you've been playing around with console, and how many of you have played around with console apps yet? OK, so a good number of you. Console apps are now GA, so you can go ahead and roll them out. And we have some new goodies to go with it. So I'm going to show you in a second split view, but really console is about efficiently navigating through your records quickly and efficiently without having to wait for things to load. You can compare records side by side very fast, flipping back and forth. So a lot of really good stuff for people that are moving fast through data in Salesforce. Also, how many of you are using the favorites feature that we launched in spring? OK. I want to see some more hands. Go home and play with it. But if you go look in Lightning, you look up in the header and you see that little star icon, it works a lot like it does in your web browser. You can actually, whatever screen you're on in Salesforce that you like, whether it's a record, a list, a dashboard, a note, you can just favorite it with the star, and then that's in your favorites list. You can always go back to it in 2 clicks. So really trying to help you with navigation around Lightning. You can open favorites in console apps. So really cool stuff around that. And I'm also going to show you some neat JavaScript APIs we're now piloting for console. You can play with them now in DE orgs and do a lot of really cool stuff with them. Some more things to cover. A lot of you have written us love letters talking about how great Lightning is, and you'd like to have all of your users stay in Lightning all the time. So they always log into Lightning. They can't switch back to Classic. For people that you want to give that privilege to, you can now assign them a great user perm. It's got a long, lovely name. It's called hide option to switch to Classic. And you can assign it out in profiles or perm sets. I take responsibility for that, sorry. But you can use that perm now, and those folks will stay in Lightning and log into Lightning, and they can just be in that awesome experience all the time. The next thing to mention is field history tracking. So if you were missing this from Classic, that's now in Lightning. You can turn this on, and then on all of your records, you can keep track of changes made to data, who made the change, what the change was, what the field was. So you have all that visibility across your data in Lightning. The next thing is being able to delete charts. So list views in Lightning are fun. You can actually create really cool charts that live on the side as you look at your data if you like visuals. But until now, you couldn't actually clean up if you had created a bunch of charts. So now you can have some nice housekeeping to go back and just delete charts that you might have not wanted to keep. The last thing, for those of you who like doing development for Lightning components or for Visualforce, if you're going to pop up a new record create form, you can now pre-fill some of the fields with values. So it's pretty cool. You can do that now, and check it out. One more thing to talk about before I get into a demo is setup. So we've given a lot of love to setup in Lightning. We're going to keep working on it and make it better. one of the things we did on the Lightning side was create Object Manager. So we're trying to make this an easy place to manage a lot of your objects. So you're seeing a screenshot here looking at the account entity. One of the improvements in Summer is you now have Object Manager as a dedicated tab in Setup. So you can always be one click away from Object Manager. And as you work with your entities, we've bubbled up important sections like page layouts and fields right to the top left, so you can get to those things quickly to make changes. And you'll notice if you go in there and play with it now in Summer that you can see more rows and they load more quickly. So hopefully you're liking the improvements that we're going to keep making to Object Manager. And enough talking about slides. Let's go into a demo. So what I wanted to show off today is console, which I'm really excited about. And I'm going to start by just orienting you to the change from standard navigation. So what you're seeing right now, I'm in my org, and I'm looking at my standard navigation app. So if you look at this, you're noticing that like across the top of the nav bar, we have all the tabs I have in my app. So chatter, campaigns, leads, and so on. Sort of a traditional style of navigation that serves a lot of use cases. If you go into App Launcher and you change apps, what you'll notice is out of the box, Salesforce ships 2 built-in console apps. One is for sales, one is geared towards service. You can change and configure them the way you want, or you can go into App Manager and set up and create your own custom console app that has all the same goodness of that navigation scheme. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into my Lightning Service Console app. We'll go ahead and load that app up. And what you'll notice right away is that the nav bar is a little bit different. So as opposed to having all of my tabs horizontally across the top, I have this drop down now where I have my tabs listed vertically. And the reason for this is that console is designed, like I mentioned, to be a really efficient place to work with a bunch of records. So we wanted to reserve that space in the nav bar for you to have a bunch of record tabs open that you're working with. So, and I get this list view by default. I can change to, for example, cases, and I would have a list view there. But let me go back for a second to accounts and show you something neat. So I can change the style of the list view by dropping down this one button here, and I can do the new split view. So what split view does is it acts a lot like maybe a mail program where you have your index on the left and you have a detailed view on the right of what you're looking at. And what's cool about this, if you watch real quick, is I can click down a bunch of records. So here I go. And they're all going to fire up and open up inside this browser tab. So it's kind of like a browser in a browser. And they're all loaded. There was no seagulls, no having to wait for things to load in a different browser tab. And now what's cool, if you watch me do this, is I can flip back and forth really quick, and all these records are here waiting for me to enjoy. So if you're someone who uses a lot of records and you want to go compare things quickly in the same tab, console is definitely for you. OK. Something else to show you is how we organize the console workspace. So let me go to one of my accounts here. And one of the cool things you can do is you have this kind of parent and sub-tab hierarchy structure to console that's automatic. So I'm looking at this account Allied, and I want to go explore a related opportunity on this account. So I'm going to go down here and click on one of those opportunities. And what you're going to notice is it just split out, and I'll zoom in here for you, and it created a set of sub-tabs. So what we've done is we've organized the original account record you're on as a sub-tab, and we popped out the opportunity as a sub-tab. And let's say I didn't know who Bill West was, but Bill owns this opportunity. I'd like to go check out Bill, so I click on him, and I get a third sub-tab. So what's great about this is we are organizing everything under this master account tab where it's all related, and it's saved for you. So one of the really cool things about console that I love is if you're a busy person and you get interrupted a lot at your desk and you walk away and you're doing things in Salesforce, you don't want to forget about them, console remembers all your tabs. In fact, your whole workspace is saved every single minute. So if a browser crashes, if you log out and go home or you come back, whatever, you'll come back in here and you'll see all the same stuff loaded up for you. So it's super handy that way. Let me also show you kind of different tabs you can do. So dashboards is one that will load itself as a primary tab. Another cool thing you can do if you like organizing stuff is you can drag stuff around. So I love that it's very tactile. If you like drag and drop, I can just pick up this tab and I can move it over to, say, here and drop it. And just like that, you've reorganized your workspace. And then if I wanted to get rid of something, like say we go back to my Allied Opportunities account and I have those 3 sub-tabs, and let's just say that I'm done looking at Allied for the day, I can just simply X out the top level tab, and all the sub-tabs go with it. So it's very tidy and clean if you like to work that way, and you can go through records really efficiently. Another cool thing to think about here is you can pin tabs. So let's say that I go to things every single day, and let's say the CEO dashboard to me is really critical to how I do my job. You can just simply pull down this drop-down menu, and choose Pin Tab, and you'll see it jump over here to the left and kind of minimize itself. And it's a special place. So as you pin tabs, they all kind of shift to the left-hand side, and they're protected. So you can't accidentally close them unless you want to. I can always drop this down and say, unpin or close tab, but for things that you do every single day, they're right there for you protected. OK, so that's what I wanted to cover there. The next thing I want to show you, if you like keyboard shortcuts, is you can hit Command/, and you'll get a menu, not here apparently. There we go, that shows you all of the keyboard shortcuts. And we're going to keep adding more over time, and we're working on having custom ones be possible in the future. But you can do a lot with your keyboard and not your mouse. So if I come back out of here, one thing you can do is hit G for global and W for workspace. And you got to trust me, I'm doing this now. So if I hit the arrow keys, I can just, like that with my arrow keys, tab around my tabs. If I get to, let's say, an opportunity record I wanted to look at, so I'll go load one of these again, and I wanted to make an edit, I can just hit E, and I go into edit mode, right? And let's say that I want to change the dollar amount and just add on $100 here. We'll go ahead and do that. And then I can just hit Command-S and save it. So we've mapped a lot of the common things you're doing with edit, save, and so on, and navigation into keyboard shortcuts to make moving around console pretty easy to do. So that's keyboard shortcuts. The last thing you might have noticed down here is this utility bar. So there's a notion that these utilities kind of are persistent mini apps that live on all the time and kind of run in the background, and you can create your own. So if you guys like to do Lightning component development, you can easily create your own component and drop it in one of these windows. So if I pull up Notes, for example, this is the Notes app that Salesforce has, and it shows your current notes. And you can always click on one, and I can open that back up in a docked composer window and keep working on my note or see more of the details. So again, this is a really efficient workspace for you to play around in with your data. But I do want to demo one more thing before we go back to slides, and that is the JavaScript APIs. How many of you in here are developers? How many of you have written a Lightning component? How many of you want to? OK, good. It's a lot of fun. So we built this. This is actually a Lightning component you're seeing right here in this utility window. And unfortunately, we can't give it to you, but it just shows how we test our API internally. You can make your own. What this lets me do is play with all the different APIs we have right now in this pilot. And I'm going to go ahead and open this menu for you. And you'll see we have a bunch in here. And it's really a bunch of APIs that let you work with the general tabs in the console workspace. So things like changing focus, selecting one, changing the tab title, all those kind of basic window operations, as well as the utility windows that I'm just demoing right now, the size of them, the label on them, all those kind of things. And so you can think about creating your own custom Lightning component, your own custom utility, you can define whatever behavior you want, and you can do cool things with these APIs. So for example, let me show you a couple. So I'm in a window right now for this utility. Let's make it wider. So I'll just call the set panel with JavaScript API. And I'm going to increase the size to 700 pixels wide. And here we go. Ready? Boom. So just like that, you can manipulate all the behavior you want to do with utilities and with the general console workspace. We're going to add more of this over time. We have some great APIs we're looking at from the original classic console. So you can do a lot here. For example, one thing you could do is you can change the utility label. So if your custom Lightning component wanted to have like a call time on it, and you wanted to have a countdown clock, you could be calling this in a loop to then show that time counting down. So definitely check it out. If you have a DE org, it's turned on already. Play with it. Give us feedback. It'll be GA in the following release. All right, with that, I'm going to go back to some slides. Get to presentation mode. All right, great. Now, one of the things I'm really excited about today in particular is we listen to all your feedback. And in fact, if you don't know this, if you go in the help menu in Lightning and you click on give feedback to Salesforce, all of us product managers, UX team, executives, we all are on distribution lists. We see all your feedback. We read it. We respond to you. We really do care what you think. Lightning's our baby. And feedback we've gotten around the UI of Lightning has been that you like Lightning, but we could do a little bit better with some aspects of the styling. For example, people say there's a lot of white space. Could you make it more dense, tighten up the number of rows I can see in a list? Can you create more contrast so things pop off the page more? So we love all your UI feedback. We have a lot of UI geeks at heart on our teams. So we took it on as a challenge to make these improvements. And so what I'm going to do here is reveal to you what we're going to bring into winter, so the October release, with global changes to styling and see what you guys think. And while I do this, I'll just point out that there are some wonderful people here in the room from our UX team who are currently sitting down, but will be around at the end. Can you guys stand up? So we have Guy Jenkins and Alyssa from our UX team and more of us. We all care what you think. So as you guys see these slides, as you think on it, come talk to us after. Come give us your feedback. Let us know if we're on the right track. OK, without enough preface, let me get to some actual reveals here. So pay attention. Here we go. Here is the current record home you see in summer. And here's what's going to look like in winter. So I'll point out a couple things on here, and then I'll get to kind of a summary slide. You've noticed we've created more of a contrast to the background. So a lot of the foreground content pops out as cards. We have worked on the font hierarchy to have more clear visibility of what you're looking at. We're using bold a bit more to draw your eye to important information. We've created this fun splash of color in the highlights part of the page to pop the contrast off for you. So we're doing these things to make it easier to read Lightning, to work with Lightning every day, and feel like it's fun and comfortable and helps you get your job done. Another example is lists. This is the current lists in summer, and here we go for winter. So this is a 30% increase in density. So we're very close to Classic here, maybe even better than Classic in terms of how many rows you see in a list view. And again, give us your feedback. Are we on the right track? Do you like these kind of changes? I'll get to the background customizability, don't worry. We'll get to the roadmap. I love the fact that you're already thinking ahead to these questions. I think it's great. So this is sort of a final summary of these changes, but I just wanted to show you guys this stuff and let you know that we're really taking your feedback into account. We hear you. We want more feedback, so keep it coming. And come talk to us after what you think of these changes. OK, so now I'm going to get into some roadmap, which I'm sure you're waiting to see here. So winter 18, again, October release. Some of the things we want to do here is make sure we keep closing any gaps we have with Classic, but also make sure that Lightning continues to be awesome and compelling on its own. One of the things we've been working on for winter is having a related list quick links card on Record Home. So we know that it can be hard to scroll down along Record Home and find all the related lists you're looking for quickly. So we're now surfacing this card, which is fully configurable in App Builder, so that you can see at the top of the page all of your related lists, and then quickly hover over one of them and get a 10-row, 10-column preview of that list that has actions that you can sort. So you can kind of work right there on a hover. And if you want to go to a full embedded list view, then just click on View All, and you can jump right into there. So the goal is that you can interact with this one part of the page really efficiently to get to all your related lists quickly. Also, I should mention, in case you don't know, you actually can, in Lightning, control which related lists you see on records as a user. You can go customize and set up which ones are there. So if you don't want, say if your admin had put like 20 and you only wanted 5 that you care about, you can always have the power to adjust that yourself. OK, the next thing to mention around lists is mass inline edit. So we brought a lot of great things to lists in Lightning. This is really cool if you're doing things quickly and you want to modify a bunch of rows together. So you can select a bunch of rows, make one global change, and save that value quickly. I'll get to that. So that's cool. And then a couple other things to mention with this is you can now clone and save as. So if you want to make your own copy of a list, or if you've made some changes and save it as your own, you can do that. We've really thought hard about, again, some kind of personalization aspects. So if you want to resize the columns on the list view that makes sense for you and your data, it'll now remember that and bring it back when you come back to the list. So that's really handy. And of course, text wrapping, if you're like me, you get annoyed when things are ... and you're like, what's this word? And so we're working with adjusting that to make it more readable, have it wrap a bit more. And so again, give us your feedback, but we're continuing to work on making lists very awesome to look at. OK. A few more things. I showed you a little bit of the JavaScript APIs in console. There's a whole roadmap behind this. They're going to be GA in winter. So start playing with them now. Give us your feedback. I think the API shape is pretty final at this point. But yeah, give us your feedback. Another cool thing about console is be able to define these navigation rules. So for example, say you open up a case and you want it to automatically open the parent account record with it and do a hierarchy automatically. You'd be able to define rules like that to how tabs and records open in console that meet what you want to do with that interface. The next one, again, play with favorites, pretty awesome. But folks that have been using it a lot are like, it's great that I can open my favorites in console, but couldn't you let me create new favorites in console? And so the answer is yes. We heard your feedback. That'll be in winter. And we're also, for all of you developers out there, going to be having a public API available to you for favorites to work with all that data through the API. Lastly, more love to setup. For admins who do admin part-time or don't always know the right screens they're looking for, we're going to add synonyms to quick find. So if you're like, I need to reset that password, you don't know what screen that is, typing reset password is going to find you the right screen and setup and help you get there. So that's really exciting as well. A little bit further in the roadmap, so spring 18 and later, overwhelming feedback, and I'm part of this, is we'd love customize my tabs in Classic. It would be really cool if I could manipulate the navigation bar in Lightning, move my tabs around, delete stuff, add stuff. We hear you, we're doing it. So working on it right now, actually. So I'd love to hear your feedback. So if you find me afterward, come tell me how you want it to work. But we are actively researching and designing that right now. The next thing to mention is favorites. So favorites are great on Lightning desktop. We're bringing them to Salesforce One mobile. So as you go on the road with your devices, your global favorites list will be available to you on whatever device you're on. So you just bookmark it once on whatever device, and you can open it wherever. That's the goal. For developers in the room, if you think about the navigation menu in regular Lightning, not console right now, but regular Lightning, we have these drop-down menus that let you do things like plus new or show you recent records, recent lists. We want to make that customizable. We want to let you have power to create your own custom content in there, put a Lightning component in there, maybe have dynamic content. So thinking about making richer apps if you want to have dynamic navigation content as you're working with the app. We're thinking about use cases like that. We'd love your feedback on how you want that to go. The next thing to mention, you saw our UI changes coming into winter. That's out of the box, but we want to give you, if you want it, the additional ability to brand and theme your org as you see fit for your company. So going beyond our improvements, maybe having your own that you want to tweak with colors, background images, avatar images, whatever makes sense for you. And we're currently doing research right now on those requirements. So speak to me or Alyssa afterward if you want to be part of that research on that feature. The overall mission for lists is making lists awesome in Lightning. So again, closing gaps like filter scopes, multi-sorting, search. We want to bring all the goodness to lists in Lightning and make them amazing. And our mission is that wherever you encounter a list in Lightning, it should be a fully featured list with all the bells and whistles. So we know right now that related lists lack some of these capabilities. We're rapidly trying to merge it all together into one uniform UI that every list is great. So that is the goal for experience.
You mean by that, like not only 6 records, sorting, finding, a real list?
Real lists everywhere. It's going to be a bumper sticker. I'll give you one. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Eric, to talk about the awesome customization roadmap.
Great, thanks, Joe. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's coming for customization and what's there right now. So we'll start off with actions. So actions is one of our great ways to be able to think about how we connect from screen to screen, from how we automate the experience of the application there. And we've given you the ability now to use Lightning components in actions. They're able to be used in custom actions. That's there in spring and earlier. With the summer release, we added the ability to override standard actions. So you can actually change the edit or the new, or even the tab action, and replace that with a custom Lightning component. Looking forward into the future, we want to provide even a little bit more control over that. Allow you to perhaps control how an action appears. Does it pop up as a modal? Is it full screen? Is it sized in a particular way? So some things like that. Additionally, looking at the setup UI and trying to be able to manage that a little bit more holistically across an application. Thinking about all the different ways you may override actions, whether it's visual force pages, Lightning components, or Lightning pages, and really trying to unify that experience. Speaking of that, then, talking about Lightning apps, Joe already talked a little bit there about the console capabilities there, and that's an attribute of a Lightning app. You might be thinking to yourself, wait, what's a Lightning app? Well, Lightning apps are the Lightning version of custom application. So we added new capabilities that are exclusively available in Lightning Experience, and that gives you the ability to switch navigation styles, so you can have a standard or a console application. You can add the utility bar, which works even if you're not using console. Standard nav applications can use the utility bar now in Lightning Experience as well. We'll talk in a minute about Lightning Pages per app. For the developers in the room, if you are pushing out a package and you actually have a managed Lightning app, you are able to upgrade that, and you're able to add new tabs into the navigation of an app that you now have. Additionally, coming with the winter release, you will also be able to then, as a subscriber, append additional custom tabs to that app that comes from your ISV there. So a lot of great power there to be able to combine the best of both for both our developers and our subscribers there. So that's with that subscriber appended tabs capability. Okay, Lightning Pages per app, I think, is one of the real sleeper features that we came out with Lightning Apps. And the idea here is that for the first time, you can actually have a differentiated experience when working with records in Salesforce. And what I mean by this is, let's take the example of an account. Well, think about that. If you're selling to an account, you probably need a very different set of tools than if you're providing service to that same account. And then again, perhaps if you're in a billing department and you're actually providing billing service to that account, well, all three of those jobs are very discrete. They need different sets of tools, different sets of Lightning components. Now, you might be thinking to yourself in the past, with page layouts, certainly I could customize a page layout by profile. For sure, you could. But any given user could only ever have one profile at any time. But with this capability, you can switch apps and actually get a task-specific experience. So you can have the right set of tools when you're doing the selling for an account, and then switch tools, switch apps to get something that's more tailored for providing service. And it's a really powerful capability, only available in Lightning with this capability of Lightning Apps. Now, speaking of pages, let's talk a lot about Lightning Pages, because they're really a key piece of the technology that we have in Lightning Experience. The home page, the record pages, additionally, app pages that you add are all pages that are built using our Lightning Pages technology. So they're all customizable with the app builder. Additionally, if you are using Lightning for Outlook and Lightning for Gmail, you get an integrated pane that contains customizable Lightning components. Once again, editable using the Lightning app builder there. So that's all powered by our Lightning Pages. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming for that. First off, we're working on localization so that the strings that you configure as properties in App Builder would be able to be localized. We're looking at using custom labels to be able to support that capability. We're working on being able to bring out some new components and some updates to components. People have been asking us for a long time, we'd love to have dashboards as a component to put on the home page or on a custom app page that you're building. So dashboard is a component. Joe already talked about the related list quick view. We're also going to bring list views, full proper list views, as a component that you can place onto a page in App Builder. I think that's going to be pretty exciting. A new component coming for tasks as well. Have you ever built a custom page and said, you know what, I need another version of it? I don't want to have to start from scratch. Sure, you could have done it via the APIs. You could have gone and extracted it from the metadata API, copied it, and pushed another copy back up. Well, we're going to add cloning in as a one-click option there right from within the app builder. So we'll make it really easy. You're already able to clone a standard page. Now you'll be able to clone custom pages. So in the app builder, we talked about the lists. You can see here there, basically the list view component replaces the filter list component. When you add it to your page, if it's on a wider region in a desktop form factor, you'll get the full list view manager. So I think that's going to be pretty cool coming in the winter release. Custom Lightning page templates. For all the developers in the room, this is giving you the ability to actually have control over the shape of the page, the arrangement of the components. So you will be able to build your own custom Lightning page template that your admins are then able to consume inside of App Builder. So it'll work like any of the other standard templates. The beauty of it, sort of the secret behind the scenes all along, is that these templates are actually just Lightning components. So you will build a Lightning component that serves as a template that you can then use to lay out any of your other new custom Lightning pages. A lot of demand for this, especially for people that are building console applications. They have some specific designs about how they want the screen to be oriented, how they want things arranged. You'll be in full control of that. You're able to build it with a little bit of markup, a little bit of CSS, a little bit of JavaScript potentially. You can even make them responsive if you're building templates for our app pages. And then you saw it this morning in the keynote. Sarah was talking about the dynamic Lightning Pages feature. Did you guys all see that? This is what I'm really excited about. It's one of the big things that my teams have been working on for a couple of releases now. And this is giving you the ability to conditionally show content on the page based on some criteria. And to begin with, it's on record home pages. It's a pilot right now in summer. And the idea is that if I'm on a record page, I could actually have the appearance of components vary based on data from the record that I'm looking at. In fact, let's take a look at it. Rather than look at a slide, let me show it to you in action here. So I'm going to switch over here to my org, and we're going to be on an opportunities page. Now let's say I've got some tools that will help me to make my opportunities a bit more interactive, make my salespeople a bit more productive. Well, the way that I'm going to handle this is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit my page. So I'm going to bring up App Builder. And we're going to start by carving out some screen real estate. We're going to give ourselves a place to put our tools. So the way that I like to create space on a page with App Builder is by using the tabs component here. The tabs component is special. It's the one component that can contain other components. So by default there, it's got its related tab. I'm going to change that second tab over here. I'm going to make that be a custom tab. And we're going to call that our tools tab. There we go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move the insights component onto the tools tab there. We're going to take the related list, put them on the related tab, and I'm going to add a couple of other tools. The first tool that I'm going to add is actually not a custom component per se, but a very customizable component, because I'm going to use the flow component. So if any of you have ever built a flow, if you've built a flow with screens, you've actually also built a Lightning component. Because using the flow component here, it will take any of your screen-based flows and run them natively as a Lightning component. So in this case here, I can go in and I can say that this flow, I'm going to pick from my list of flows. I want the deal support request. I want to pass in the record ID to it. But then the other thing is that I don't want this flow to show up, this deal support request. Well, deal support requests are kind of an expensive thing. I don't want it to show up all the time. So I want to conditionally control when this one shows up. So I'm going to do this by setting a visibility filter. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say that this one should only show up if the amount of the opportunity is greater than $50,000. So just like that, I'm able to go in there and configure it so that now that will only show up conditionally. I'll add one more tool real quickly here. I'm going to add another component here. And I'm going to set this one a little bit differently. This is a contract generator. And I want this one to be conditional based on the stage of the opportunity. So I'm going to find my stage field. And we'll say that if the stage is equaling proposal, that component should show up. So now I've got potentially, as you can see there, 3 components in my tools section. But 2 of them have rules attached. And you can see there's a little eyeball icon even there in the app builder letting me know that that component has a visibility rule attached to it. We're going to go ahead and save our page. That commits the metadata. We'll activate it, so we're wiring it into the system so that the page is ready for everybody to see. We'll assign it, in this case, we're going to make it our default. There we go. Our changes have been saved. We'll jump back here now to the runtime. And what we'll start by is we'll see there's the beginning of our page. We've added our tools tab. There we go. And let's take a look at the details of this opportunity. You can see that right now, this opportunity is a $48,000 opportunity. You can see that right there. And if I go over to my tools tab, well, you'll see that I've only got that one component, because right now it's not matching any of those other criteria. But if all I do is go in here and edit the amount, I'll just change the amount of this one. Maybe it's an $88,000 opportunity. We'll hit save, and instantly the additional component appeared there. We'll come to questions in just a moment. But so instantly, that other component automatically appears. If it were to change back, it would go and disappear. If I go and change the state of my stage of my opportunity here, we'll make that one now into proposal. You'll notice that the draw loop component appeared as well there. So dynamic Lightning pages are able to make our users more productive because we can focus them on the content that's relevant for wherever they may happen to be in a particular, in this case, opportunity, case, job application process, whatever it may be that you're modeling here in Salesforce. OK, looking a little bit further out on the roadmap, I want to talk about that for dynamic Lightning pages. We want to go beyond just supporting record-based customization. So other types of pages, being able to put it on the home page or app pages, having it be contextual based on who you are, only show a component if you're the owner of a record. Make it perhaps be based on the date of the week. Only show the component if it's the last week of the quarter. You can imagine there's a lot of different possibilities with this type of logic, being able to make our pages just that much more interactive, but also that much more focused so that people can really tailor what they need to be doing right and keep it relevant there. So I think that's a really important thing. Layout enhancements. This is another big one for us. So we all love the page layout editor, but it's maybe hasn't had a lot of love in a while. And we want to take that and really go to the next level and think about that we've got this app builder that lets us work with all of our components in a nice, modern, Lightning-compatible way. But what about fields? So we want to bring those experiences together, give you new tools for working with your fields. But what if we could provide some great new capabilities as well? What if sections of fields could actually behave as if they were components? And you could drag a section around and place it onto a different tab on a record page. Or perhaps even attach a visibility rule to a section of fields, so that you could have fields come and go based on other information on the record there. A lot of possibilities there, definitely things that we want to do to bring layouts forward into the Lightning world and breathe some great new capabilities into them. But it's not just about the desktop as well. Mobile is definitely something that is near and dear to our hearts. We want to be able to bring the same type of customization capabilities back to Salesforce 1. So we've got Lightning pages. They actually started life here on Salesforce 1 with the app pages and the app builder. We want to bring record pages to Salesforce 1 as well, giving you the ability to customize that and fully take advantage of those capabilities. So those are things that we're thinking about a little bit further out on the roadmap for customization. And with that, we've got about 5 minutes for some Q&A. At the same time, I'm going to put up some resources for you. LightningRoadmap.com, great site for you to be able to get to the latest version of the Lightning Roadmap. It starts with components, but we'll take you to the full version there. Any more questions you have that we don't answer today, find us on the Lightning Now group on the Success community. Yes? Yes? So the question was, would conditional logic be able to apply to actions as well as components? Certainly from a roadmap perspective, absolutely. I think that's a killer use case for it, is being able to say that a button should only show up based on some criteria. So I'm totally with you there. The first key step was being able to do anything conditionally on the client. Now that we've unlocked that, we can incrementally add it to a lot of different capabilities on the platform. Component visibility is a pilot right now in summer. Our plan is for it to be generally available in the fall. Yes? So the question was, if you put the flow component on there, that's a component that would actually be visible. If you wanted to execute a flow from within your own code, I think you would need to do that programmatically. There are ways to, for example, invoke a flow from Visualforce and things like that. I don't think there is yet a way to invoke a flow from a Lightning component directly.
I don't know if I understood it correctly, but you showed that I can customize the layout of the component. Today, if I want to add a component, it only adds below. If I have a layout like that, this is broad and narrow space, I can add a component here, and then if I want to add another component, it goes below.
Correct.
Or the narrow space.
Correct.
It is mainly, I believe it's a big use case. I want to add the components, not only below, to the right and to the left.
Sure.
This is what you showed also, or it's not?
No, we didn't. So the question was really about sort of when you add components, how do they flow and how do you control the positioning of them? As it stands right now, within a region, components stack one on top of the next. One of the things that we are looking at, certainly from a roadmap perspective, is something that we think of as a sort of a column section component, similar to the tabs component that allows you to drop other components in. This would be a component that divides the space for you and potentially allow you to have additional columns that you can control so that you could have other components placed side by side. So more flexibility about that's coming in the future. In the near term, you have a variety of different standard template options to choose from. For record pages, there are 8 different templates you can choose standard. Custom templates would be coming in the winter release.
So I thought it's in the custom template.
You can do it with custom templates, but that's programmatic.
So,
yes?
I was very excited about the sleeper function that you talked about, where you've got the
Pages per app.
app default, and then it's app record type and profile. But when I was poking around with it, it seemed like if you use record types, there's no just app and record type option, right? Once you go past app default, then if you use record types, you would have to create an option for every record type by every profile in order to use that function, which basically killed it for me because we use record types on ops and other places where I want to use this. Am I right?
So it is a hierarchy. You can assign the same page to multiple times, certainly.
You would have to assign it to, essentially, once you get past the app default, if you're using record type,
Yes.
you would have to assign it for each profile.
Yes. Which is similar to the case for page layouts as well, in that when you're doing those assignments, it becomes that grid, and so you'll pick it there. One of the things that I'd love to have is at least in the UI, would be a select all option there. There's a couple gaps there. We're trying to get those filled sort of on the infrastructure side of it, but to be able to make it so we can do a select, yeah, we should fix that for sure. Okay, I think we got time for one last question.
So the quick list option, for showing the related lists, does that slow down the page load at all? Because in Classic, it would slow down tremendously.
We are making sure it does not impact page performance. So we've done a lot of work with Summer to make sure Lightning's even faster, and that's one of our constant goals as an engineering team. and we're going to make sure that that feature is part of that bucket.
And if you don't use it, it's just a component. You can take it off the page.
True.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys so much.